What if I told you that Barça is about to unveil the most complete attack in all of Europe? No, I'm not just talking about Karim Adeyemi, nor only about Anthony Gordon, but not even about the dream of signing Julián Álvarez. I'm talking about a squad where Hansi Flick is going to bring together Lamine Yamal with Rafinha, Anthony Gordon, Karim Adeyemi, Fermin Lopez, Dani Olmo, and we can still keep dreaming about adding a few more pieces. Best of all, this doesn't mean some will replace others. It means that Barça, for the first time in many years, has a team that can compete for absolutely everything again. But be careful, because there's still one piece that could completely change this transfer market. And when we get to that part of the video, you'll understand why Joan Laporte and Dedeco are still working to make the decisive move. So stay until the end, because today in this video we're going to analyze the entire transfer market from top to bottom of Barca's signings. And believe me when I say that the starting 11 we'll see at the end of this video is really exciting. Hello Barca family! Today the transfer market is still completely on fire. And the thing is, Barca keeps taking steps to build a team capable of competing for all the titles again. After several years in which the club has had to do real financial juggling, it seems that at last a pretty clear sporting plan is starting to take shape. It's not just about signing great players, but about bringing in different profiles that add up so that Barca has the best possible team. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Because Barca already made a very important decisive move before the start of the World Cup, with the arrival of Newcastle winger Anthony Gordon. Now today they've officially announced the arrival of German player Karim Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund. And in the meantime we keep dreaming of completing the dream attack with Julián Álvarez. But before talking about the Argentine, let's go step by step. Because I think we're still not really aware of what the first major attacking signing of Hansi Flick's project means. A lot of fans are talking about Adeyemi these days, and it makes sense, he just became a Barca player. But Hansi Flick's offensive project started much earlier. It began with the arrival of Anthony Gordon before the start of the 2026 World Cup. The English winger was unveiled. And he represents a very clear idea of what the German coach wants to build. Because Anthony Gordon isn't coming just to dribble. He isn't coming just to run. He's coming to change the way Barca attacks. We're talking about a footballer with extraordinary intensity. One of those wingers who never stop pressing throughout the whole match. He helps the fullback, wins the ball back and attacks space. And they're able to appear both inside and out wide. That gives Flick a huge number of solutions. And until now, many times Barca seemed to depend too much on Lamine Yamal. And yes, today it's time to talk about Karim Adeyemi, because he's now officially a new player for FC Barcelona. Honestly, I think his arrival perfectly complements the signing of Anthony Gordon, because even though both are very fast wingers, they don't play the same way. Gordon stands out for his intensity, his ability to link up with teammates, and the work he puts in throughout the 90 minutes. On the other hand, Karim Adeyemi is a real speedster. He's one of the fastest players on the planet, with spectacular acceleration. He constantly attacks the space behind defenders, can play on either wing, and can even play as a center forward. That opens up a huge range of possibilities for the attack that Hansi Flick wants, because now the German coach will be able to choose the profile that best fits the team's needs. If he wants to control the game more, he can go with Gordon. If he wants to punish an opponent who leaves spaces, Adeyemi can be the ultimate weapon. And the best part is that neither of them is coming to take Rafinha's place. On the contrary, Rafinha will continue to be one of the leaders on the field. A player who provides goals, assists, experience, and pressing. That's why I believe the main change isn't about who starts. The real change is that Barca will finally have top-level attacking options again, and they won't be 100% dependent on just one player anymore. But if you thought that Anthony Gordon, Rafinha, Lamine, Yamal, and Adeyemi are going to make up Barca's attack, wait. Because what we're going to say about Julián Álvarez is a huge bombshell that our colleague Jota dropped last night. Jordi, get ready, I'll explain it to you right away. Because Anthony Gordon was the first major offensive signing before the World Cup, and now with Karim Adeyemi arriving, Barca wants him to play. Julián would be the final signing to complete the attack. We're not just talking about a goal-scoring striker, but a player versatile enough to play as a number 9, drift to the wings as a second striker, and contribute significantly. Technically speaking, he's one of the best you can find on the market, and he still has a lot of potential because he's very young. But the big question is the following. How could Julián Álvarez join Barça? Pay attention, because in the last few hours, some very interesting information has come up that could make a lot of sense according to Jota. Jordi just explained that Atletico de Madrid would be very interested in signing Ferran Torres, the hero of the Spanish national team. Ferran Torres, who doesn't seem likely to renew his contract with Barcelona, has a clause that would make Barça have to pay a significant commission to City. And also, I think he's unhappy because he hasn't had the playing time he wanted. And there's talk of interest from Paris Saint-Germain, but watch out, because Atletico de Madrid could come into the picture. And that's exactly where a big window of opportunity could open for Julián to end up at Barça. Let me stress, we're talking about a press report, and that may be the key. Because if Atletico de Madrid finally reaches an agreement with Ferran Torres, the red and white club would look favorably on Julián's move to Barcelona. Therefore, they would lose a player who has always stepped up, but they would bring in another young player, a Spanish star, someone who just made us world champions. Therefore, be careful, because if this deal goes through, we would be talking about a huge bombshell. Ferran to Atletico de Madrid, and on the other hand, Julián would end up joining FC Barcelona. I think we would have an incredible forward line. I mean, Rafinha, Julián, Lamine Yamal, Anthony Gordon, Karim Adeyemi. Those are 5 spectacular attacking players. I think it would be wonderful, folks. It would be absolutely insane. I think if people believe that the attack is the only area of the field that's going to improve, I think we also have to wait. Because in midfield we have Pedri, Dani Olmo, Fermin, and the great Frenkie de Jong, who's injured. And I think now it's going to be the turn for the great Marc Bernal, who we'll talk about in a moment. I think in the end, a youth academy player will likely be promoted in defense as well. Now we'll explain, because there's a name that just came up, and at the end of this video I'm going to reveal who it is. A World Cup champion player who could join Barça. I'll tell you about it in a moment, because the success of this Barça under Hansi Flick doesn't depend exclusively on the attack. Because if the midfield doesn't work, it doesn't matter if you have the best forwards in the world. And that's exactly where a name comes up that I mentioned a few moments ago, the name of Marc Bernal, the young 19-year-old Barça player, who will have to take on a very important role at the start of this season. Frenkie de Jong's injury will force him to once again have that undisputed role in the midfield, alongside players like Xavi, Pedri, Dani Olmo, or Fermin Lopez. In the midfield, we'll see what happens with Marc Casado, but the key name in the midfield, we believe it could be Mar. Bernal, with that power he has, both physically and technically speaking, is a prodigy. He has to be a key player for this new Barça to work. The work of Barça's sporting management is aimed not only at having a top starting 11, but also a very competitive squad that allows us to fight for La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. A Barça that has gone a long time without winning it and is eager to win the top continental competition. Now it's time to talk about that piece I mentioned to you a few moments ago, for the defense. A World Cup winner with Spain, who, according to Fabrizio Romano, has been offered to FC Barcelona. We're talking about a centre-back, a left-footed player, someone who plays in the Spanish league, belongs to Athletic Club de Bilbao, and his name is Laporte. Champion with Spain. Laporte could be that final piece to balance out an ultra-competitive team. Ultra-competitive Sport via Carlos Monfort reports that he has a release clause of less than 15 million euros. Therefore, his partner in the World Cup has been Pau Cubarsí, and if he were to arrive at Camp Barça, it would be a wonderful signing. Because sharing that wonderful connection with Cubarsí is what made us world champions. It would be great for Barça, and that way we could count on Christensen, Araujo, Gerard Martin, Cubarsí, and Laporte. It's a signing much like the one with Íñigo Martínez a few years ago. Tell me what you think, because it's absolutely crazy. And now, to wrap up this video, smash the like button, subscribe, and write to me in the comments. Which signing do you think this Barça is missing? Let's take a look at the starting 11 we would have if everything we're talking about happens. In goal, Joan Garcia. In defense, on the right, George Koundé. Centre-backs, Cubarsí with Laporte on the left side. That would leave us with Joao Cancelo. In midfield, Marc Bernal with Pedri alongside him while Frenkie de Jong is still injured. In midfield, in the attacking midfield position, Fermin Lopez or Dani Olmo. And up front, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, and Julián Álvarez with Karim Adeyemi and Anthony Gordon as alternatives. A spectacular forward line, a very complete team, which I personally love. Let me know in the comments what you think about this great team and how you see these possible moves. Barça hoy!